This is the sound of a Norfolk and Western 8-inch top hooter whistle from an M-Class 480 locomotive. While it is less well known than the traditional hooter whistle, it marks the beginning of the first episode of the second saga as part of Season 2 of the Revival Steam podcast. I am Alec Butler, the narrator, sound editor, and host of this fictional railroad-themed show. It shares stories with listeners like you about what the future might hold for 21st century revenue trains powered by new and improved steam locomotives. As mentioned, this marks the first episode of our second saga, highlighting future steam operations on the last railroad in America to run steam locomotives on the main line, the legendary Norfolk and Western Railroad. Established in 1870 through the merger of 4 Virginia railroads, its earliest predecessor was the 9-mile-long City Point Railroad, connecting City Point and Petersburg, Virginia. For 112 years, until its 1982 merger with the Southern Railway, the N&W was famous for transporting coal from the Virginia and West Virginia mountains to Norfolk, Virginia's port. Initially, it serves the states of Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio. However, through the mergers with the Virginia, Wabash, and Nickel Plate road systems, it expanded into Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Missouri, New York, and Pennsylvania. The N&W was renowned for building outstanding steam locomotives. In the 1950s, its flagship models included the J-Class 484s for passenger services, the A-Class 2664s for freight, and the durable Y-Class 2882s, primarily used as helper or pusher engines in Virginia's mountainous regions. The Y-Class locomotives continued to operate until the final days of steam on the railroad, with locomotive number 2190 being the last steam engine to run on a Class 1 railroad, retiring from mine run duty in May 1960. About 14 N&W steam locomotives remain in existence, despite most having been scrapped. Notable survivors include the J-Class 484 number 611, which is operating in excursion service today and based out of Roanoke, Virginia. The A-Class 2664 number 1218 is on display in Roanoke's Virginia Museum of Transportation. And M-Class 480 number 475 operates on the Strasburg Railroad in Strasburg, Pennsylvania. What does this mean for the RS movement? The answer is simple. After concluding the Southern Saga, we'll focus on the N&W. The story of the N&W steamers is well documented thanks to photographs and sound recordings by O. Winston Link, a renowned photographer of steam locomotives. Recognizing that steam power was soon to fade away, Link dedicated himself to documenting as much of the N&W's steam fleet as possible before it vanished for good. He captured images at iconic locations such as Blue Ridge Grade, the Montgomery Tunnels, the Abington Branch, Bristol, Roanoke, and Bluefield. Times when life was simpler, quieter, and vastly different from today. Most photos were taken at night, resulting in stunning scenes. Through Link's photos and sound recordings, we gained a richer understanding of the N&W's character during the steam era. This focus on the N&W is part of why the RS movement team, including me, will highlight the story. Unfortunately, I am unable to use Link's sound recordings as the Link Trust has denied permission to do so. However, you can see some of these images and listen to the sound recordings by contacting the Trust directly, as the link provided in my show notes. As I mentioned in previous episodes, my motto is that everything begins with small steps. The RS events on the N&W will start with engines from the branch lines, which we highlight in this episode. Later, the focus will shift to the switchers in the NS yards and interchanges across the system. The first mainline activity for N&W steam will connect Roanoke, Virginia to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. From there, steam trains will revisit some of the most iconic parts of the N&W system during this series, including the Shenandoah Valley Line from Roanoke to Hagerstown, Maryland, and the Bristol Line from Roanoke to Bristol, Virginia. Other routes include the route from Roanoke to Cincinnati, Ohio via Bluefield, Virginia and Williamson, West Virginia, and from Roanoke to Norfolk, Virginia, crossing the famous Blue Ridge Grade. This represents a significant milestone in the RS movement's effort to restore steam on Norfolk and Western lines. So sit back, enjoy some popcorn, and get ready. Let's begin our upcoming RS mainline journey on the Norfolk and Western. Although it was the last to run steam, it is set to be among the first to bring it back. Our journey begins with branch line engines, focusing on operations in Ohio and West Virginia. Most of the featured steam locomotives are M-Class 480s, but we will also highlight some well-known mallets, ending with the largest. This event is scheduled for Labor Day weekend. We plan to drive to Ohio on Thursday morning, August 28th. Around 9 a.m., we'll start on a section of track between Coshocton and Brewster, Ohio, on the Ohio Central Railroad. Originally owned by the Wheeling and Lake Erie Railroad, this line was later purchased by the Nickel Plate in 1949 and incorporated into the N&W in 1964. Although no N&W steam engines operated on this track, since steam service ended 4 years before the Nickel Plate's acquisition, it will serve as a route for smaller N&W engines, as most of the well-known branch lines have long since vanished. For the initial N&W RS operation, 2 mixed trains will run between Coshocton and Brewster, using the M-Class 480 locomotives. One of these engines is the first N&W steam locomotive in this saga. Tribute number 376 honors 125 mastodons built by Baldwin and the Alco Richmond Works between 1906 and 1907. Of these engines, numbered 375 to 499, only 2 remain, 433 on display in Abington, Virginia, and 475 currently operating on the Strasburg Railroad in Pennsylvania. Our N&W adventure begins with Tribute number 376 as it departs Baltic and heads to Sugar Creek, Ohio, where it will pick up cars on its northbound trip. Listen to the passengers in the rear coach of the day's first mixed train. This marks a great start to the N&W saga. At 12:30 p.m., we station ourselves at the Winklepleck Road crossing north of Sugar Creek, Ohio. The day's second mixed train is heading north to Brewster after a water stop at the current Age of Steam Roundhouse site. As horse-drawn buggies, common among the Amish community, pass by, we hear the train struggling around a curve and whistling at the crossing. The lead locomotive is our second N&W Tribute M-Class 480, number 422. Let's listen as it moves past us, heading north to Brewster. For the next two soundtracks, one of our group members will take a seat in the cab of 422. The ride begins as the train departs Brewster heading south to Coshocton. Meanwhile, we will drive to another crossing at Dundee-Strasburg Road, north of Dundee, Ohio. We will complete our final run of the day before heading southwest to Columbus for the night. It's a wonderful day with number 422. And this marks the first of many N&W steam engines featured in this and in future episodes of this saga. Early on Friday morning, August 29th at roughly 7 a.m. at sunrise, we observe activity at Norfolk Southern's Rickenbacker Yard in Columbus, Ohio. Surprisingly, 2 Tribute NW articulated engines are operating there, but they are not the white Class 2882s. Instead, they are from a less well-known NW class, the Z1A, which includes 175 2662 engines built by Baldwin between 1912 and 1918, with none remaining after 1958. Tributes number 1461 and 1463, part of this class, are assigned to the Rickenbacker Yard switcher duty with symbols L56 and L58. They clatter as they move freight cars around switching trains. That's just a preview of what's upcoming for the other mallets. After observing these engines switch about for a half an hour, we'll travel roughly 2 hours to Anchor, Ohio, a Cincinnati suburb. We will then spend the rest of the day train spotting along the Cincinnati Eastern Railroad. This 70-mile-long line, owned by Regional Rail, is the sole active part of the former N&W Cincinnati Division and the NS Cincinnati District line, connecting Cincinnati to Portsmouth, Ohio. Since 2003, the section east of Plum Run, the eastern terminus of the railroad, has been rail-banked. Whether this entire line will be restored for service remains uncertain. Regardless, we envision it as a branch line for the N&W, primarily operated by more of the M-Class 480s, as we are about to hear. Due to time limits for this episode, we will share 3 clips of the 480 locomotives we will catch today. The first features Preserved Star number 475, which we imagine in the story visiting the CCET from Strasburg. It operates on Freight Train number 1, running only on weekdays. It heads from Anchor to the NS interchange at Clare, the railroad's western endpoint. After switching, it will do local work as it moves towards Plum Run. We will only hear this train as it approaches Clare. Then we'll go to the eastern side of the Anchor Yard, where another CCET freight train number 2 is leaving the yard and heading to Plum Run. This train also runs only on weekdays. The M-Class handling today's train is Tribute number 405. The last whistle clip in this segment features the RS-related local passenger train traveling from the fictional station at Clare to Plum Run. Another Tribute operates this train, 480 number 396. This segment doesn't show much chugging action, but the whistles of these N&W mastodons are a fitting tribute to the class that worked on branch lines like the famous Abington branch. Let's see which whistle you think is the best. After capturing this action, we will head to Williamson, West Virginia. However, 5 minutes into the trip, we will learn about the preserved M-Class 480 number 433, which is operating its first revenue train since being retired in 1958. So we briefly return to Coshocton to hear 4 run past of number 433. We start around 4 p.m. as we hear the engine pull out of town with the second mixed train of the day to Brewster. The other 3 run pass will feature the train passing Fresno initially, with the last 2 run pass south and north of Baltic. Despite being 125 years old, number 433 in good hands can still do its job. Listen and you'll understand what I mean. We will drive for almost 4 hours before arriving in Williamson, West Virginia, the town where N&W steam last ran in 1960. Steam is now slowly regaining popularity and will operate on a line that has attracted recent attention. Norfolk Southern's Buchanan branch, also known as the Grundy branch, extends south of the main line to Grundy, Virginia. Originally part of the N&W Railway, this line is perfect for reintroducing steam to revenue service, as it passes through West Virginia, Virginia, and Kentucky. After spending the night in Williamson, we plan to relax on Saturday morning, August 30th, following a busy day of action and long drives. Around noon, we'll enjoy packed lunches before heading to the Grundy branch to check for any activities. The branch departs from the main line at Devon, West Virginia, heading south. We are currently at a gas station near the track, having just fueled our vehicles. Suddenly, we hear a distant whistle, prompting us to move quickly to Lester Fork, Virginia, our first stop. To our excitement, the RS-related supply train is heading south along the branch toward Grundy today. The locomotive honors the M-Class 480, commemorating the famous Mastodon number 382, originally filmed and recorded by Link on Virginia and North Carolina's now vanished Abington branch. Now that spirit is alive again, and we enjoy capturing number 382 and its supply train moving south along the Grundy Branch. It's around 2 p.m. and we're still pursuing 382 while observing the train going through the yard at Weller, Virginia. The impressive whistle resonates wonderfully across this area of the Appalachian Mountains. Five hours later, after hiking and dining at Weller, we are back at trackside. We captured the sound of the same train while positioning our equipment to face the same direction. Locomotive number 382 works steadily on the grade past our spot, soon reconnecting with the NS main line at Devon before heading off into the sunset to complete another run of one of the first NW steam engines on the branch since 1959. Sunday, August 31st, marks the conclusion of the initial NW steam operation. After breakfast in Williamson, we return to Leicester Fork to hear an extra supply train heading south to Grundy. Traveling along this winding NS branch line is a tribute to MS Class 480 number 429. Note the engine's whistle originally designed for the clinch field, which differs from NW heritage. Nevertheless, capturing number 429 hauling the supply train south on a genuine NW branch line is a significant achievement. It's about 9 a.m., and we plan to travel roughly an hour east to Yeager, West Virginia, a still busy mining center. NS usually runs different shifts at nearby mines to load coal and assembles NS Coal Train 827 at Yeager's Allville Yard. This train runs as needed from Lambert's Point near Norfolk, carrying empties to Yeager for more loads close to the mine, then returning them to Norfolk. We aim to capture nearly 4.5 minutes of action of our last train for this initial NWRS event. We also want to preview what will be featured in the future. Our first tribute Y Class 2882, number 2148, the main workhorse of NW's Mallee fleet, is handling the mine run between Yeager and the mines along Norfolk Southern's Dry Fork branch. Number 2148 belongs to the 35Y6 locomotives, numbered from number 2120 to 2154, built as an upgrade to the earlier Y5 2882s from 1936 to 1940. Sadly, no survivors of this group remain. And now, to conclude this episode, let's spend the next 4.5 minutes listening to tribute number 2148, switching cars at a mine on the Dry Fork branch near Yeager. It will then return to the main line heading toward the yard with loads for a later coal train bound to Norfolk. In the final scene, we hear number 2148 working hard uphill passing the Marshall Highway crossing at Yukon, West Virginia. After the train passes, we'll head back to Williamson for the last night, then travel home the next day, September 1st, Labor Day. This first NWRS episode marks the start of many NW steam sounds in this saga. Though it only depicts branch line operations, it reflects my motto, all beginnings are small. The next episode will focus on switching operations and later include mainline action. The steam locomotives of the Norfolk and Western, the last in America to operate steam, are making a comeback. To close, I would like to thank Jay Wynn, Semaphore Records, David Sadowski of the Trolley Dodger, Joe Fusco of Fusco Productions, Mary McPherson of Divergent Clear Productions, and YouTubers Curtis Huey and Jack Milne for allowing the use of their sounds. Links to their channels are included in the description, allowing you to enjoy their work. I would also like to credit my Aunt Elizabeth Tremblay for her hard work editing my scripts for the podcast. I'm looking forward to our next NW adventure on this podcast. No further words are necessary. This is Alec Butler from Revival Steam. We will see you next time.
I mean,